The Gemara continues, second line from the bottom of Vav Amud Aleph. Bishlam Ravia Rishona Lishol. It makes sense that we need to know when the first part of the Ravia rain is, because that's when you start asking for rain. Shlishis Lehisanos. You have to know the third Ravia rain, because that's when you're going to start fasting. If the rain hasn't started yet, you start fasting so that rain will come. Shnia Lamai. Ask the Gemara, but what do I need that middle one for? What do I benefit from knowing when the middle rain is going to be coming? So Amar Rabbi Zera answers Linidarim. You need to know this for Nidarim, for making vows. Why? Ditznan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Hanoder ad Hageshamim, right? Let's say you say, I'm going to take a neder, right? I'm not going to benefit from this until the rains come. So Mishiyar de Geshamim ad Shaterid Arvia Shnia. That phrase is referring to from the time the rains fall until Ravia Shnia, until the second Ravia. That's what we need it for. So the first answer why we need to know what the Ravia Shnia is, we need to know it for when you take a neder, a regular neder, to say that until it rains, we assume you mean until the Ravia Shnia. That's answer one. Rav Zvid Amar, Lezesim. Rav Zvid says, no, we need it for the olives. What does that mean? It's not, we learned in the Mishnah. So when is every person allowed to eat leket shech and pei? Leket shech and pei are the things that are left in the field for the poor people, right? So when is everybody else, not just the poor people, allowed to eat those? Mishayelchu hanemushos. Once the nemushos go through the field. We'll translate nemushos in a minute in the Gemara. Beperet uba olos, by the vineyards, by the grapes that aren't good grapes, the clusters that aren't full clusters. When can you start eating it? Mishayelchu aniyim bekerem viavo. Once the aniyim come into the vineyard and they left. Zaysim, when can you eat the zaysim? Mishaterid Ravia Shnia. Once the Ravia Shnia came, then everybody is mutter in the zaysim. So that's what we need to know, the Ravia Shnia. Now the Gemara just wants to clarify, my namushos, what were those namushos that you were referring to by Leket Shech and Peya? So Rav Yochanan Sabi da Azli Atigra. Rav Yochanan says it's referring to the elderly people who would go on their canes, meaning that they would walk very slowly. Since the people who walk very slowly were able to get to the field, and even they didn't take this food, then it is permissible to everyone. Reish Lakish Amar Lakute Basha Lakute. Reish Lakish says that the Nemushos means that people came, they went through the field once, they took their food, and they came a second time. If they came twice and they still left food, then that food is now mutter to any person to eat, not just the poor people. So that's the second answer, though. So our second answer as to why we need to know Ravia Rishnia is to know when the zaysim, when the olives are permissible to all people. Rav Papa Amar, a third answer, Kidei lahalef b'shvili harashus. When is this? Why do you know the Ravia Shnia? Because that's when you can walk in the paths of people's properties. Amar Mar, as it is taught, Master said, Mahalchan koladim b'shvili harashus. You can walk in the paths between the field achateirid Ravia Shnia until the Ravia Shnia fell. Meaning, up until that point, we assume that people aren't really working their fields yet, so therefore you can walk through their fields. And once the Ravia Shnia comes, you no longer walk through the fields. Nachum bar Yitzchak Amar, a fourth answer, Leva'er Peros Shvius. This is the time when you have to destroy the Peros Shvius. It's not, because we learned in the Mishnah, on Masai Nan and Vesarfin, Betevin and Bekasha Shvius. And so when can you benefit and burn the grains and the leftover stalks from Shvius? Achateirid Ravia Shnia, until the Ravia Shnia, the second part of the reign of the Ravia came. My time. What's the reason for this? Because the pasuk says, for the animals, the domesticated animals, the lachaya, and the undomesticated animals, that are in your lands. Anytime that the chayos, the wild animals, are still eating in the fields, you can feed your animals in the house the peros shvius. Once the chayos in the field can no longer eat, so you can no longer feed peros shvius to your animals in your house. And Amar Rabbi Avo, Rabbi Avo says, my lashon Ravia. What's this language of Ravia? Davar sheroveya es hakarka. It's what impregnates the land, is the language that it nourishes the land. Could Yehuda, like Yehuda says, Mitra Baila da Arahu, that the rain is kind of like the husband of the land. Shenemar ki kasher yirid hageshem v'ashalag min hashamayim. Right, when the rain and the snow falls from heavens, b'shama lo yashuv, and it won't return to there. Ki im harva es haaretz v'holida v'etzmicha, that it's going to saturate the land. V'holida, it's going to give birth. V'etzmicha, and it's going to sprout. Meaning that's the language, right? That that the Revia is that it's Rovea the Karka, and it's like the husband of the land. Rabbi Avo says Revia Rishona. What's Revia Rishona? Kadesha Teri Bekarka Tefach. That it should fall into the ground a tefach worth of rain. Shnia, what's the second one? Kadei lagav ba pi chavis. It's like in order to be able to seal the pi chavis. That's how much rain needs to be. Amar Rav Chisda says Gishamim sheyardu kadei lagav behen pi chavis ein behem mishum v'atzar. Meaning Rav Chisda is saying that if there's enough rain that fell down that it makes the ground so muddy that you can use the mud to then seal the barrels and the jugs, so it doesn't have the restriction of the yatzar, of the idea that I'm going to stop the rain. I mean the curse that Hashem says I'm going to stop your rain that we say in Kriya Shema. So as long as there's enough rain that is making that ground muddy that you can still seal the chavis, that's not considered a rain of the yatzar. But Amar Rav Chisda similarly says Gesham sheyardu kodem v'yatzar, ein behem mishum v'yatzar. Any rain that falls early, meaning early in the morning, it doesn't have the restriction of the yatzar as long as it fell early in the day before you say the psukim in Kriya Shema of the yatzar. Amar Abai, and Abai says, Lo amran ela kodem v'yatzar de urta. That's only referring to if it fell before the language of Yatzar that we say at nighttime of Kriya Shema. V'kodem v'yatzar de tzafra yesh ben mishum v'yatzar. But if it fell before you recite the language of V'yatzar, you say Shema in the morning, then it does have the restriction of V'yatzar. It's not necessary. It could be a curse. What does that mean? The Amar of Yehuda bar Yitzchak, Yehuda bar Yitzchak says, Hani anani de tzafra les behu mashasha. That the clouds that are in the morning, they don't have mamashas, they don't have mamashas, they don't have like substance. Yehuda. That what I do for you, Ephraim, what I do for Yehuda, your kindness is like anan boker, it's like clouds in the morning. Basically, what he's saying is that clouds in the morning are not beneficial. If clouds in the morning are not beneficial, then that can be a fulfillment of the curse, v'yatzar, that I'm going to close up the Shemayim. Amar le Rav Papa Labai, and Rav Papa said to Abai, Amri inshi, but don't people say b'mafteach b'bei mitra when the gates of the reins are opening? Bar chamra, the donkey rider, mof sakech, should fold your sack v'gani and go to sleep. Meaning, Papa saying to Abai, but it sounds like we have a saying that if the gates are open in the morning, that it starts raining, that you should just fold up your sack and call it a day because it's going to rain all day. So we see that rain in the morning is actually a very good thing, and it is beneficial. So why are you saying that rain in the morning is not a good thing? Says the Gemara, lo kasha, not a question. Hadar kater be'eva, hadar kater ba'anani. One is talking about when there are thick clouds in the morning, then we assume it's going to rain all day and it's going to be a good rain. Hadar kater ba'anani, here, but this one it's very thin clouds, then it's not going to be a good rain, and that's what the Bible was referring to, when it's thin clouds and it's not going to be a beneficial rain. Amrav Yehuda says, Tavel Ashasa de Tevis Armalasa. It is good when in a year when the month of Tevis is a widower, meaning it has no rain. Igad Amri Delo Bairi Tarbitse. Some say that the fruits won't get rained on too much. Igad Amri Delo Shakos Shudfana. And some say that we don't have Shudfana, which is basically a too much rain that's going to destroy the land. Says the Gemara, Aini, is that really so that we want Tevis to not have rain? Rav Chisda, Tavel Ashasa de Tevis Ben Avlasa. Rav Chisda said that it's good for a year when Teves is a manuvel, meaning that it's like there's so much rain that the ground is disgusting and dirty. We see that he wants a lot of rain. Says the Gemara, lo kasha, that's not a question. Hada aser mitra meikara, hada lo aser mitra meikara. This one's talking about where it rained originally. If it rained originally, then we don't want any more rain once the month of Teves comes. Hada lo aser mitra meikara. If it didn't rain originally, then we don't want rain once the month of Teves comes. The Amar of Chisda also says, Geshamim sheyardu al miktas medina v'miktas lo yardu ein b'hem mishum v'yatzar. That if rain fell in one part of the land and another part of the land it didn't fall, so that also again does not have the curse of v'yatzar, meaning it's not a full curse that I'm going to stop the rain because one part has rain. Aini says the Gemara is that really so v'aksiv v'gam anochi manati asem zageshem b'ol shlosh chadashim. Lekatzir, that it says Hashem says I'm going to prevent the rain from coming to you for the next 3 months of the harvesting. That I'm going to bring rain on one city and not going to rain on the other city. That I'm going to bring on one part of the city and I'm not going to rain on the other part. But Yehuda Marav says Shtein leklala, that both are a curse, meaning both the city that got the rain and the city that didn't get the rain is a curse. So what are you talking about that it's not a curse if one part gets it and one part doesn't? One part of the city gets rain and one part doesn't. So he says, Lo kasha, it's also not a question. Hada asa tuva, hada asa can be baile. This one's talking about if it came too much rain. If it's excessive rain in one place and no rain in the other place, neither one's is a bracha, because too much rain is not good and no rain is not good. If it came can be baile, if it came like was necessary though, if the proper amount of proper amount of rain came in one place, then that place is a bracha, even though the other part is not a bracha. Amar Rashi, Rashi says Deka Nami. This is also meduyak. Is also sounds like in the pasuk that says timater. The pasuk is timater tehema kol matar. It should be a place of rain. That sounds like it's excessive rain. The whole place should be a place of rain. That's too much. Now we see from here that that's what it's referring to.